Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World Interfaith Harmony Week celebration with the Charter for Compassion. Today, we celebrate our last day of this week, which has been fabulous. And today, we are really happy to bring to you our very dear Ed Bastian, who is the president of the Spiritual Paths Foundation and holds a PhD in Buddhist studies. His primary research languages are Tibetan and Sanskrit, and he's an award-winning author of Living Fully and Dying Well, along with Intraspiritual Meditation and Mandala, Creating an Authentic Spiritual Path. He's produced acclaimed documentaries on religion for the BBC and PBS and is a former Smithsonian Program Director of Biodiversity and Intellectual History and teacher of Buddhism and world religions. Ed is on the faculty of Antioch University, where he teaches Buddhism and mindfulness meditation. During the past 2 decades, he's taught throughout the US and Canada at places such as the Garrison Institute, One Spirit Interfaith, the Chaplaincy Institute, the Interspiritual Center of Vancouver, Omega Institute, Hollyhock, California Institute of Integral Studies, the Aspen Institute, Charter for Compassion, and the Parliament of World Religions. He's been the president of the Interfaith Initiative that hosts showers of blessings for our homeless neighbors and EcoFaith for environmental action. He has been a global trustee of the URI, which is the United Religions Initiative, and the executive committee of the URI Environmental Network. Ed, we are so honored and humbled to have you here with us today for this lovely session on meditation and activism. I'll hand over to you to talk to us more about why you thought of this and why is this work so close to your heart.
Thank you, Namrata. Thank you, Mimi, for helping get the call set up. Thanks to the Charter for Compassion, and what an extraordinary organization it is, reaching out around the world with this, reminding us all and providing us with tools and opportunities to develop our own compassion so that we might live compassionately in the world and make a real difference in our active lives. So it's really wonderful to be working with the Charter, and I appreciate this opportunity to be with you guys for a nice, relaxed Sunday morning to be talking about meditation and how it connects to compassion and how that connects to transforming ourselves and transforming the world around us. Before I start with that, I wonder if you guys, whoever's on the call right now, just introduce yourself, just briefly your name and where you're from, and we'll get a sense of who's on the call and where we are in the world. So why don't I'm just going to look at the list. The first name I see is Alan. Alan, can you, let's see, we see the top of your head, but we don't see your face. There you are. Hi, Alan. You're still muted, Alan.
There you go.
Hi, Alan, welcome. Tell us your name and where you're from.
My name's Alan Singer, and I'm from originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, living now in Pacifica, California.
All right. Wonderful to see you and have you. Thank you for joining us. And the next name I see on the list is Anna Wolf.
Yes, I'm Anna Wolf, and I'm also originally from the Midwest, from Illinois, and I'm living in Carpinteria, California.
Welcome, Anna.
Thank you.
Next I see on our list is Carol. Carol, could you introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
Yes, I will. I'm a Canadian. I'm originally from the Midwest, Saskatchewan, but I live presently and for some time on Prince Edward Island, which is the Atlantic coast of Canada. So I'm pleased to join you all. It looks like an internet, at least neighbors of US and Canada so far.
Right.
Lovely to be here.
Well, it's great for you to join. And of course, we're working on time zones which are appropriate for North America and parts of South America, and maybe England. But it's a challenge for people who are in different parts of the world to tune in at this time. So those of you who are listening to the recording, welcome to you, and we totally understand why this is not a good time for you, but hope that you enjoy what you're about to hear. So, David.
Hi, Dave Bellick. I'm in New Hampshire in the middle of a snowstorm. So.
Oh, you are. Congratulations. All right. It's great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
Yeah. Felipe.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, I needed to unmute myself. Hi, I'm Felipe. I am calling in from from Santiago, Chile. I technically live in Salt Lake City, Utah, but I decided to escape the winter, and I am enjoying the South American summer.
Yay. Yeah, well, let's hope you're staying healthy down there amidst all of this. Yeah. Thanks for joining and thanks for your help. Yeah. Christine.
Hi, I'm Christine. I'm from snowy Iowa, where it was minus 20 degrees this morning.
Oh, no. Oh, heavens. What part of Iowa?
East central Iowa.
Which means there's a town associated with it.
Well, I live in Shellsburg, which is a very small town, but it's near Cedar Rapids.
Well, that's where I'm from, Cedar Rapids. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's near Cedar Rapids.
I was raised. And another person on the call, Anna, is from Moline. So we have several Midwesterners at least. Yeah, I think. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Nicole, welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole. I, too, am originally from the Midwest, outside of Detroit, Michigan.
Oh.
And I am now living in New York City.
Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you.
And Nomi.
Hi, good morning from Brooklyn, New York, but originally from Lahore, Pakistan, where I think there is a Charter of Compassion as well. And when I visit next time, I would love to go to their office and see what I can do for the project. So I'm glad to be part of this. Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you, Nomi, as always. All right, I'm going to start sharing a few slides here and kind of enter into the session today. I'm assuming you can see my slide now. Is that true?
Yes, you can put it on slideshow.
Are you able to see it?
Yes.
All right, good. All right, so today I'm going to try to help us all connect some dots. I think there's nobody here that doesn't, I'm sure, that doesn't agree that compassion is the key to almost every issue that we're facing in the world today. And that if love and compassion accompanies our intention and our every act, then certainly the world, ourselves as individuals, and the world has a really good opportunity to actualize the ideals and the possibilities for humanity. So, so this title of this is called Meditation for Social and Environmental Activism, but really it pertains to all kinds of activism, whether we're being teachers or mothers or fathers or medical professionals, whatever it is we happen to be doing in our daily lives, grandmothers and whatever we're doing, we want to bring meditation, compassion into our activism by whatever form that takes. So, excuse me. So we all know that the Charter for Compassion, this is really the rationale for the Charter for Compassion, that was inspired by the work of Karen Armstrong and is doing such amazing work in the world today. And so I'm just going to bring us to that just by pointing out just a couple of these brief paragraphs that are part of the Charter's mission and vision, and then connect the dots between compassion and the meditation that we're going to be learning about and that we're going to be actually tasting a little bit of today together. So, compared, and as this is from the Charter, from Charter for Compassion. Compassion is at the heart of the world's wisdom, spiritual and ethical traditions, calling us to deep listening, to treat others with both as we wish to be treated as they wish to be treated. Neuroscience, evolutionary biology, and the social sciences confirm that compassion is both innate and can be cultivated. And that we'll be looking at these in a little bit, how we can cultivate them, and just sort of a taste of what the neuroscience is saying about the power of meditation. And the second paragraph, compassion motivates us to alleviate the suffering of others, to honor and respect all life, to treat everyone with justice, fairness, and respect, born of our common humanity and our deep interdependence. Compassion is essential to human relationships and to the future of humanity. So it's easier said than done. I think probably all of us, when we're really being modest and honest with ourselves, that oftentimes we can talk a good game when it comes to compassion, and we have an easy time letting the word compassion come out of our lips and meaning it, meaning that it's really important, and that's the goal that we all strive for. But I don't know if for you, but oftentimes if you do sort of like look at the day, and if you were able to have like a little clock or a little checklist for every second and every minute of the day, how much of that day is actually spent in a deep sense of love and compassion? We aspire to it, but oftentimes it's just not at the top. So as we're engaging in the world, we want it to be at the top, but it doesn't always come automatically. It doesn't always come easily. So therefore, we have to cultivate it. And the world's traditions are full of great practices for helping us to do it, but compassion becomes a deep-seated kind of habit that we develop for ourselves, a way of being, a way of thinking, and it requires, at least in my humble experience, constant work, constant development. So in my experience and what I've seen from the world's great traditions and the teachers that I've worked with, is that compassion itself, which is the intention to relieve and to end suffering, is lonely. And this is just a word I'm using to experiment with this word, is lonely without wisdom. Which means that oftentimes we feel compassionate, but we're at a loss as to how to actualize that compassion. What we can actually do in every point instance of our days and our activism in the world, even though we have that compassionate intent, we still need wisdom. Oftentimes, wisdom and compassion are looked at, and I'm sure most of you have heard this metaphor before, like two wings of a bird. With only one wing, the bird can't fly, but with two wings, the bird flies. Without the wings of wisdom and compassion, that we don't necessarily have the capacity to actualize our compassion in the world. So wisdom is a necessary condition for actualizing our compassion. The intention is also necessary, but not sufficient. The next sentence here is wisdom is lonely without compassion. So there are folks that are, we could call wise, smart, lots of information, talk a good game, have a great philosophy, but don't necessarily have the intention of compassion for the development of their wisdom. So wisdom then, using the same terminology, wisdom is lonely without compassion. So the question is, how can we cultivate both of them so that we are whole, that we are like that bird that can fly with both wings of wisdom and compassion and bring them into our daily lives? So the next sentence is, the meditation provides the process for weaving compassion and wisdom together. So meditation becomes this opportunity for us all then to deepen our wisdom, to deepen our levels of compassion, and find ways to weave them together. And we can do that at the depths of our being, when we're able to enter in and to really observe the inner workings of our mind, to then cultivate that sense of compassion and love from the depths of our being outward. So it's radiating out from us to help other people. I think we've all learned by this time in our lives that we're not going to be happy and healthy just because other people are telling us what to do, or the opportunities for another movie or another dance or another more money or another house. They're not sufficient in and of themselves to make us happy. It takes compassionate intent from within us and the development of wisdom to achieve those goals, both for ourselves and others. So the point here then is to try to create a meditation which helps us to cultivate, to sustain, and to practice compassion in the world. This is where meditation comes together with our goal for compassion. So what I'm going to be talking about and asking for your interaction with me and questions and comments on and discussion about in the time that we have together today is on this type of meditation called Intraspiritual Meditation, which is a 7-step process that we're going to go through here in a few minutes. So the goal is for intraspiritual meditation to provide a universal and non-sectarian process. And here I'm using the metaphor of cloth, woven by the warp strings of compassion and the weft strings of wisdom. So we begin to see that a beautiful cloth needs both the warp and the weft. They need to be woven together. Meditation helps us to do that. Intraspiritual meditation implies that all the world's great traditions have something to offer to this, and the experiences of meditators and contemplatives for thousands of years have a lot to offer us as we're trying to develop our compassion and our wisdom for ourselves. And in this day of extraordinary diversity, the challenge is for us to incorporate the diversity of many different traditions into a practice that is universal and is doable by everybody. So again, the metaphor of the cloth, ISM, which is the shorthand for intraspiritual meditation, can be seen as a multicolored cloth of inclusivity, woven from the vibrant hues of diverse spiritual traditions, races, ethnicities, ages, and genders. So there are a number of practices that are taught within traditions. They're often very specific to the tradition itself. And if one person is, say, doing it from a strictly Christian perspective, or another from a Jewish perspective, another from a Muslim perspective, etc., oftentimes it doesn't feel inclusive in the sense something that people of other traditions can join together and practice in harmony with each other. So this process that we're talking about today is meant to be that which people of all traditions and people that don't have a tradition, which is at least in the United States, at least 30 to 40% of the population, especially the people between, that are coming along up until the ages of 40 or so. So this is a meditation that's meant to be inclusive, to be empowered by diversity, that everybody has something to offer. And as we're meditating together, we feel that vibrant diversity of all of our individual consciousnesses permeating each other, so that we're growing together. We are growing, and we are accomplishing a contemplative practice that honors this diversity. So this is what it looks like as a kind of a mandala for intraspiritual meditation. And you can see that a mandala mainly from, well, actually there are mandalas in all traditions of one form or another around the world, but this helps us give us a visual that we can then begin to contemplate to pull the 7 steps of this meditation together. So here you can see as we go around these 7 parts, they're all intentionally interwoven with each other because they're all interdependent one with the other. And you can see as we develop it, we begin, I would have liked to just begin with compassion and love. That seems to be the beginning, but I think from my perspective, what I've learned, and maybe you would agree, compassion and love may be the hardest thing to be able to develop and sustain. We will have a natural love and compassion for our children, for our parents and our family, but as we begin to spread the web wider and wider, having that same level of compassion and love for friends and colleagues and those with whom we have challenges and those who are suffering throughout the world and those world leaders who are causing suffering, then it becomes a lot more challenging to have that same type of compassion. So you'll see in this process, we kind of move into compassion with something that seems easy, but not really, becoming healthy and happy from the inside out, becoming grateful for all the opportunities, both the challenges and the easy to understand gifts of our life. Grateful. And then transformation, with the intention that we have internally to transform ourselves as the foundation then of our practice. So this becomes a very kind of practical and intentional practice as we move from our own desire for health and happiness, our gratitude, and then our deep transformative goal for ourselves, this precious life. What can we do that is most beneficial for our lives and can be most beneficial to others? Then build on these first 3, we move into compassion. Compassion then is that deep sense to relieve the suffering of others that is coupled with love, which is the deep desire, the sincere desire for the happiness of others. So we create that foundation for our compassion. Then with these 4, we then move into mindfulness. It's not mindfulness just for us, but it's developing mindfulness so that we are able then to calm our minds, to make our minds tranquil, to make our minds focused, so that we can notice what's happening inside and we can begin to transform our internal world into one of love, compassion, and wisdom. And then we move from mindfulness into wisdom. After we're able to develop the foundation for wisdom for the first 5, predicated on our compassion and our mindfulness, which has calmed our mind, the opportunity for wisdom to emerge from deep within us is available to us. So as long as we're monkey-minded, and as long as we're just scattered, as long as we're chasing after happiness in one external form or another, we haven't given our mind the opportunity, or our consciousness the opportunity, to give rise to that wisdom, which is innate to our in the potential for every being. That wisdom can be coupled by wisdom that we've learned from the tradition of our choice, of our birth, or the combination of traditions that we are now incorporating into our practice. And then the final, which is really brings us to the goal that we have, which is compassion and action, meditation and activism. That before we leave our meditation, we then imagine the day in front of us, the week in front of us. We imagine the challenges. We bring them up to the forefront of our mind, make them objects of our meditation, but then we rehearse by bringing the meditation into each of those moments of the coming day, coming week, coming weeks. Then we have this wonderful experiment where we leave the meditative cushion or our meditative walk, or however we're doing our meditation. We're then experimenting, applying it to each moment in our day. At the end of the day, we come back and do a little assessment. How'd I do? Well, I can see I didn't quite come up to my own standards here. I'm going to work on it again tomorrow. We practice the meditation again, and we go in and we experiment with it in our daily lives. So I'm just going to pause here for a moment, and I'm going to stop sharing just to ask for any comments or questions that might be arising. I know, Namrata, this may be the first time we've gone through this together. I'm wondering,
Yes.
now you've been doing lots of work in the world along these lines, and I'm just wondering how this resonates for you, or what questions you might have.
I was very fascinated to see the first thing on this mandala as health and happiness. And I find that missing in so many models and so many conversations, especially when it comes to the idea of making a transformation in the world. And I'm just wondering, is there a specific reason that, you feel that has to be the first thing, or anything from your experience that you may be able to share with us about its relevance in this mandala?
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I'm going to preface it with just a little bit of personal history. When I did my doctorate, I was living in a Tibetan monastery, not far from where you live, in India. It was a refugee monastery. And I was translating from Tibetan and Sanskrit into English the section of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, called the Prajnaparamita, that deals with compassion. So I was really challenged. I was really amazed that at least in Buddhism, which is similar in many other traditions, that the goal that you actually take a Bodhisattva vow, which is everything that you're doing, you're going to do for the welfare of all other beings. And as you have that intention for the welfare of all other beings, you leave yourself out of the equation. You don't want to taint that very pure intention by, well, I'm going to sneakily say to myself, well, if I'm good to him, maybe he'll be good to me. So it seemed like a really high bar to me. That's not easy. And then I looked, the models of Jesus and so many great teachers and saints that have lived in the world of their compassionate way of being, it's hard in the beginning to imagine we could actually actualize that. Speaking personally now, myself. So where's a good beginning point? Where's a point that we can all more easily identify with, that we can help us get started? Well, as the Dalai Lama said, and many have said, well, at the basis, we just really want to be happy and healthy. It's kind of simple. And you can see that among animals, all different types of beings, just to be taken care of, to be at peace, to be healthy, to be happy. And so let's just start there. But in this process, each of the steps is also an education process. So that as people are doing our courses, they begin to say, well, what is health and happiness? What is the foundation for health and happiness? And then as we do more and learn the meditation, we begin to discover that my own health and happiness actually is dependent on my service to other people. That if my intention is to help others, that helps me to be more healthy and happy. So it just seemed like kind of an easier way to begin than demanding that people have to be this sort of perfectly compassionate and loving being in order to get started. So we kind of create the foundation and move into it, into love and compassion through gratitude, transformation, then love and compassion, then mindfulness, and then wisdom, and then service, bringing it in. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes. And thank you for sharing that. It's certainly very
Yeah.
helpful and totally relate to that.
Yeah, other folks, please don't hesitate to
I have a
speak
quick
up.
question.
Yeah, please, Felipe.
So you were just mentioning about, in your meditations, how it can be, and it was a very short comment, but you said like on your walks as you meditate. And so could you enlighten us a little bit about how do we determine that we're in a meditative state? Because I go on walks all the time and I have my thoughts and everything, but how can I focus it on this sort of meditation, for me to analyze this process and do it like while I'm walking? Because I don't know. I'm not crazy experienced in meditation, but I've done for like a couple of years, and I feel like I've been taught so much that I have to like sit down and be connected with my body and feel all those things, that I find it. I'm trying to see how can I make it so that in my walks I feel that meditative state. So do you have any advice on that?
Well, if you look at, I'm just again sort of a general look, you look at many of the world's great traditions, they have prayers, they have mantras, right? They have poems, they have stanzas to help us to have something running through our mind while we're doing other things. So if you have, in our case of, in a very esoteric and beautiful Eastern Orthodox Church of Christianity, there's the Jesus prayer, which is running in the background of people's mind. In mantras in Sanskrit and Tibetan, people will have Om Mani Padme Hum running through their mind in the background. And you'll find it in many different traditions, different things, so that when you're walking, you can be letting that run through your mind. You can even be singing it, to yourself. So in our case, there is, coupled with this meditation, a mantra, and there's the 7 steps. May we be happy and healthy. May we be grateful. May we be transformed, loving and compassionate, mindful through my breathing, wise through meditation. May I be in service to all. So each one of those has a contemplative dimension to it. May I be happy and healthy. So instead of just, when you're walking, allowing your mind to go wherever, you just say, okay, well, how do I really become happy and healthy? my food habits, my exercise habits, meditation. Maybe meditation is really a key here for my health and happiness. So then we motivate ourselves to develop the practice because we have, however we do it, convinced ourselves that meditation is going to be really important for my own health and happiness. You can look at the science, you can look all kinds of evidence, say, yeah. So then the question is, what meditation is going to be good for me? But then at least we're on the path, we're on the journey. So the same thing, may I be grateful. And we run through our mind all the reasons for which we have to be grateful, because oftentimes, speaking personally, you can wake up during the day and being really pessimistic. You just see all the problems, right? And you wake up in stress. This is really normal. So the question is, how can we then change our mind to one of gratitude from one of pessimism? So we put that in our contemplative practice, and we intentionally bring to mind all the reasons for which we can be grateful. We balance it out. And then we might even reflect that, I went through a really hard time a year ago, and while I was going through that hard time, I didn't think I was ever going to get out of it. But then later I realized, well, it was a kind of a gift. I learned something about myself. I learned something about humanity. My compassion and wisdom has developed even more because I went through a hard time. May I be happy and healthy. May I be grateful. May I be transformed. This is now an opportunity to bring to mind the grandest possibilities of our life. Why are we really here? What are the ideals, the principles that are most important to me? Who are the role models, the people that I've admired? How can I become that kind of a being? So we replace all this other stuff with that, reminding ourselves of this grand opportunity we have in this life to actualize our highest being. So we move through them. May I be happy and healthy. May I be grateful. May I be transformed. Loving and compassionate. Now we bring in our love and compassion. And we could begin with those who are easiest for us, our children, our parents, and feel that love and compassion deeply within us. Then feel it for ourselves. I'm going through hard times. I can be in love and compassion for myself. I have challenges. And then we begin to spread it out to, as I said earlier, to wider and wider and wider. And we practice that over and over again. There are different words for it in different traditions. May I be happy and healthy. May I be grateful. May I be transformed. Loving and compassionate. Mindful through my breathing. So then we're just now intentionally focusing on our breath and bringing just a very subtle breath coming in from our nostrils, letting our consciousness follow that into our lungs and feeling our lungs expand and contract, and imagining that air being a pure, just a refined kind of breath that's often talked about in Sufi traditions and Buddhist traditions and Hindu traditions, the chi, the prana, the divine breath that can enliven us, that can help us to heal, that can help us calm. May I be happy and healthy. May I be grateful. May I be transformed. Loving and compassionate. Mindful through my breathing. Wise through meditation. Now we've created the foundation as if we have been nurturing the garden of our mind. We've prepared the mind so that whatever we've learned that's of deep meaning from a teacher or tradition or a mentor that we now think of as wisdom, we remind ourselves of that. And we couple it with that deep possibility for wisdom that can emerge deeply from within us. We rest into that, our breathing, allowing that wisdom to emerge. Then finally, may I be in service to all. And before we leave our walk, before we leave our sitting on the cushion or however we're doing it, swimming, we can do this while we're running, then we think of the coming day, the challenges of the day, and we just say a vow to ourselves, I'm going to bring this into my day. And then we become intentional about the day. And then we begin to weave meditation and our daily life and our activism as one continuous activity. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you. That was beautiful. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So it's important to say, this is a meditation that's not coming from just one tradition. So I learned this by working with great teachers. I, in my nonprofit, Spiritual Paths Foundation, had, over 40 different meditative teachers from many different traditions. And before that, I was working with Father Thomas Keating, a great Christian teacher who developed centering prayer, a Christian meditation, who had invited great meditators from many traditions to come to his monastery, St. Benedict's in Colorado. And I was able to be part of that group. So I learned deeply from the meditators from many different traditions. And I began to think, well, what is it that we all have in common? So I began to look, what do we have in common in terms of our process for developing a contemplative process? Not that we all share necessarily the same idea of God or the ultimate truth or whatever. We might, but we don't really know that for sure. But we can share a process. And if we engage together in the process, then we each bring the diversity of our own wisdom into the circle, whether we're a circle like us now from around the world or a circle that is gathered in person. So it's something we can do together with people, and it's something we can do on our own. I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch for this thing. It's just, I just want to, I have learned that one needs to show a certain amount of enthusiasm for what's doing. And indeed, I do feel enthusiastic about it, but it's not that you should. But if you were to do the 7 steps, the invitation is to bring wisdom in from various sources and to develop your own meditation, not just to do in lockstep what I'm saying to do or what somebody else says to do. Although we can learn a lot by doing that as well. Yeah, other questions, comments?
Well, I was going to make a brief comment about one of the things that I see in this and also experience in my own practice is, let's take gratitude, for example. And my sense of that is it's a way of being. It's, it isn't just being grateful, and not that this isn't important, being grateful for, what is in my life and in the life that the world offers. It's big. It's kind of amorphous in a way that, but it's a way of it's being open, I think, to all that is. And gratitude isn't, I think, just for the things that make us happy or whatever, but there's grief, there's pain, there's suffering. And how do I keep that attitude, that grace of gratitude, no matter what I'm experiencing? And that's not to say if something is, someone is experiencing racism or sexism, I mean, that calls for a response, but it's I'm talking kind of the big picture here, I guess, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Could you add to that or say something about what I've just said?
I don't think I can say it any better than you did, really. I think gratitude becomes a kind of the container for all of it in a way. And I've often thought it's not, yes, we can be grateful for the difficult things that have happened, not the things themselves, because oftentimes that creates suffering for other people. We can be grateful for how we respond to it, what our capacity is internally to put it into context, to see it as part of a grander whole, to see it part of a grander fabric of our life. And gratitude becomes a much bigger practice, as David Steindl-Rast says, right? We're not grateful because we're having fun or we're joyful. We're joyful because we're grateful. So we kind of turn it around. And I'm paraphrasing him, but thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah. Others.
Alan wanted to share something.
Yeah, thanks. Being muted.
No, Alan, you're not muted. Do you want to go ahead?
Well, no, I just wanted to say that it kind of, what Ed said kind of really puts it in perspective for me, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Alan. All right, I'm going to share a screen again. So we just have a little more than 10 minutes left. So I want to leave a little time just so we can meditate together a little bit. So here are the 7 steps. And then in a sec, I'm going to just lead us through a little meditation together, just as a little sample. So you notice that each one of them are, when he says 1, motivation, may we be happy and healthy. But having that motivation, we begin, as we do the process, we learn that our happiness and healthy, our state of happiness and health requires these other 6. It's not just, may we be grateful is 2nd, may we be grateful. Transformation, may we be transformed. Our intention, may we be loving and compassionate. So our meditation then is all towards that end, that we can be loving and compassionate and be engaged in the world in that way. And with ourselves, may we be mindful through our breathing, calming our minds, focusing our minds, so that we might enter in a state of wisdom. And then finally, reminding ourselves that we're doing this to be in service. And by being in service to others, we're also serving ourselves. So I'm going to ask you all, if you would, just kind of put yourself in a meditative framework, and we're just going to do a kind of a quickie here. I'm just going to lead a little meditation. And here I'm going to intersperse the meditation with little quotes and stanzas from great change agents. So there are many stanzas that when you look into our website and on the course, there are many different poems and stanzas that fit each of these steps of the meditation. I'm going to begin by ringing the gong a few times, and then the gong between each step. So just make your body not uncomfortably erect, but just symmetrical so that the energy flows nicely within you. You might want to lower your eyes a bit and place your hands in your lap or in a meditative pose. I'm just going to give you a little bit of guidance. May we be happy and healthy. This from Mahatma Gandhi. We are but a mirror of the world. All the tendencies present in the outer world are to be found in the world of our body. If we could change ourselves, the tendencies in the world would also change. Please just meditate on your own motivation to develop a meditation practice so that you can make the internal changes that are required to help others. And may we be grateful. This from Brother David Stendelrast. The root of joy is gratefulness. It's not joy that makes us grateful. It's gratitude that makes us joyful. Just contemplate all the reasons, the easy and not so easy reasons to be grateful. May we be transformed. This again from Mahatma Gandhi, who demonstrated transformation in his example, living example. A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. Contemplate and visualize for yourself, using your thoughts and your visualization, the grandest possibility for your life. And may we be loving and compassionate. This from Martin Luther King Jr. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend. Allow yourself just to visualize those closest to you that are easy to love. Feel that deep love, compassion dwelling within you. And now imagine it flowing from your heart like a rainbow out, infusing love and compassion as far as you can imagine it, to those who are easy and those who are challenging. May we be mindful through our breathing. And this from Thich Nhat Hanh, an activist from Vietnam during the war. Do not lose yourself in the past. Do not lose yourself in the future. Do not get caught in your anger, worries, or fears. Come back to the present moment and touch life deeply. This is mindfulness. Let your consciousness follow your breath as it goes right from the tip of your nose, expanding your lungs, spreading out through your entire body, bringing calm, health, and healing. May we become wise through our meditations. This from Martin Luther King. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The foundation for our active life that these people have demonstrated begins with this deep sense of compassion and love. Allow that wisdom now to emerge within you. And may we be in service to all. Contemplate the coming day and days, the challenges, situations which are repetitive. bring this meditation into each of those moments so that when you're going through the day, this meditation and these intentions of this meditation begin to arise in each of these challenges to transform them into opportunity. And so we transform ourselves and we transform others through the power of compassion and wisdom and all these other steps that help us to actualize those. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining together. If you have any questions or want to follow up, you can just go to our spiritualpaths.net, spiritualpathsplural.net, and then there's an app which you can find both on Apple and Android, and just use the keywords Intraspiritual Meditation. And be in touch whenever, anytime. Thank you so much, Namrata. Thank you to the Charter for Compassion.
Thank you, Ed. This was so beautiful, and it was just a very deep experience for me. I really loved the entire session and the meditation, and I can speak on behalf of everyone here. It was an honor to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.